Comic creators, your new crowdfunding launch sidekick is here. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner from ComixLaunch is your ultimate step-by-step companion to planning, optimizing, and executing your crowdfunding campaign, helping hardworking creators stay organized, execute with confidence, and maximize success on every launch.
Hey, I'm Tyler James, publisher of Comics Tribe and host of the ComixLaunch podcast,
which has been helping comic creators launch successful crowdfunding campaigns for nearly a decade. In that time, I've seen the same struggles come up again and again. Making a great comic, but no idea where to start with crowdfunding it, overwhelm at all the steps to launch, and fear of missing something important, exhaustion during the campaign, and struggling with the emotional roller coaster of launching.
and finishing the campaign and still being unsure what worked, what didn't, and how to get better results the next time. If any of those challenges sound familiar,
you are not alone, and it's not your fault. Crowdfunding a comic requires a completely different skill set than making one. The good news is I have something that can help. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of ComixLaunch, I've distilled years of my own crowdfunding experience and the insights of hundreds of amazing guests I've had on the show into one essential tool. This new comic book crowdfunding planner is really 4 powerful books in one, designed to help during every phase of your launch. First, it's a launch planner, providing a step-by-step roadmap including guided templates and battle-tested ComixLaunch exercises to build a winning campaign. Second, it's an execution checklist, including action items and pro tips for every aspect of your project so you can launch with confidence. Third, it's a daily campaign journal with dedicated pages to track your campaign progress each day of your launch, prioritize your daily promotional activities, and stay in command of your project. And fourth, it's a post-launch debrief with a proven post-mortem process to capture what worked, what didn't, and what you'll improve on so that your next launch is even better. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner is perfect for first-time Kickstarter creators who want a clear roadmap from start to funded.
When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks.
I have raised over $40,000 US. Everything I have launched has been done using the ComixLaunch tools. It's been the backbone of my success as a creator.
Experienced crowdfunders who want to refine and optimize their launch processes and get to that next level of funding success.
I've raised over $30,000 on Kickstarter. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish this without ComixLaunch. Tyler's guides have made it an effortless and stress-free process.
Tailor-made specifically for comic book creators, writers, artists, and publishers looking to streamline their campaigns and optimize their crowdfunding efforts.
The ability to break down the daunting task of running a Kickstarter into small, well-defined, achievable tasks gave me the confidence to finally launch a campaign.
I really needed an instruction manual, and that is exactly what Tyler gave me.
Perfect for anyone who has struggled with crowdfunding overwhelm and could use a physical tool to help focus before, during, and after your launch.
The timing of finding Tyler and his work was perfect for me because I didn't know what I was doing.
What helped me was getting access to all of the tools that Tyler puts together.
6 campaigns raised about almost $27,000, and I can honestly say I wouldn't have had anywhere near the success without ComixLaunch.
The tools included in Tyler James' planner were essential to getting the ball rolling for me.
Everything I know about running Kickstarters I learned from ComixLaunch.
Finally, it's for all the thousands of ComixLaunch listeners who have been asking for a resource like this for nearly a decade. For rewards, the new planner is available in a number of formats. A beautiful physical planner with a durable faux leather cover, digital PDF version with ready-to-print pages, and discounted multi-pack bundles for creators and publishers with many project launches on the horizon. All backers will be thanked by name on the ComixLaunch podcast, and there's limited show sponsorship opportunities available. I'm also opening my schedule for a few one-on-one crowdfunding coaching and mentorship opportunities, and you can also get access to some of the ComixLaunch Pro courses during this campaign.
Let's make your next launch the best one ever.
Back the Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner today, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.
Prepare to launch in 3, 2, 1.
Hey there, everybody. Tyler James here with another daily live stream as a part of celebrating 10 years of the ComixLaunch podcast. and to help promote and get the word out about this new comic book crowdfunding planner that I really do hope will help be your launch sidekick for your launches. And I know it will continue, the tools in there will continue to be what I use when I am going to plan my launches. So on today's episode, I have a great guest joining me, hanging out. He's hanging out in the backstage right now, John Auerbach, and we'll be bringing him on in just a bit. But I want to do a little bit of housekeeping to prepare us for today's launch. We are going to today, I'll give a quick update on how the campaign is going, and I'm going to thank a bunch of backers that have helped get the campaign off to such a great start. I'm going to share a daily launch lesson, and then and also remind that if there are people out there in comic book launching land that are interested in joining me for one of these live sessions over the next month, how you can do that. And then we're going to get into a conversation with my special guest today, who's John, who's got a great project live on Kickstarter. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about a number of awesome things. So just for a little bit of context, we are in the midst of a launch for a new comic book crowdfunding planner. Another great day yesterday. We are closing in on 250 backers, over 250% funded. Pat went past the $9,000 mark, which is really awesome. I mean, this is going to give me the resources to do a decent sized print run of this. Again, as I've mentioned, I'm not going to be doing a big overprint because these planners, I may want to update it in the not too distant future, especially as Kickstarter is rolling out updates left and right. And so I'm really planning on making this, focused on the creators that come out during the Kickstarter to support it. And so I appreciate all 240 some odd of you who have done just that. If you haven't picked up yours yet and you want to grab one, ComixLaunch.com/planner is where you can get it. And we are still in our early backer discount period. So definitely take advantage, save a few bucks, whether you're getting it the print, whether you're getting the printable version or the durable, elegant planner version, the physical planner, or one of our combination rewards. All of those are available at a bit of a discount for a couple days more. All right, I want to shout out some of the backers that have helped make this possible. I've been, trying to get through my thank you list and doing a batch at a time. But the next 20 backers that I need to shout out include Tina Isola Ritchie. Thank you, Tina. Sarah Cook. Sarah's a ComixLaunch Pro member, and she also provided a great testimonial for us. You may have saw her in the preamble video. David, Visionary Comics, fine folks over at Visionary Comics supporting this campaign. Appreciate y'all. Smith Roberts, Mason Rabinowitz, Charles D. Mosant, another ComixLaunch Pro member. Chris Yates, Tony T. Timonen, Lisa Medin, and Cork Scruve Media Builder, another backer coming from all the way from Sweden. Thank you. J. Michael Miller, Christopher Runt, talented artist Christopher, Caleb Palmquist. Caleb recently on the ComixLaunch podcast continues to do great comics. Rob Multari, longtime fixture in the ComixLaunch Pro community, as has been James Burton. Appreciate y'all. Bill Sizemore coming out. Clark Owens, Joseph Simon, Laura N., and Alan Liska, another ComixLaunch Pro member, to round out the group. So thank you. Again, I'm going to get through. I'm going to personally thank every single backer by name as I work through this. And if you want to be a backer, ComixLaunch.com/planner. Okay, today's tip of the day is that the crowd comes before the funding in crowdfunding, and it does so for a good reason. Crowdfunding, although sometimes when I'm in a launch, and many of the creators that I've talked to sort of feel this when they're in a launch, it can feel a little bit like magic, but there's no magic to crowdfunding. It is more about momentum, and momentum comes from bringing out your own crowd to every launch that you do. If you launch and it's crickets, the platform probably isn't going to be able to help you that much. But if you are able to do a little bit of work to make sure that instead of crickets, you have some of the people that are already in your world that are coming to your campaign, you're going to find that your results get amplified. And there are a few reasons why a crowd is essential. Having at least an initial crowd is essential to success on Kickstarter. Data that Kickstarter's done, that BackerKit has done, etc., has shown that like projects that are considered larger projects, and I would consider anything in the 5-figure plus range to be a larger project. 5 figures automatically makes your comic project like a top 25 project, and most of the projects that launch on Kickstarter actually don't raise less than 5 figures. But of the projects that do, about 90% of them are getting at least a third of the way towards that goal in just the first 48 hours. And what that means is that these are creators that are not leaving it up to chance or to Kickstarter to find their initial audience for them. They've already primed and prepared an audience and are driving them to that Kickstarter page. It's not complete strangers stumbling onto your page. Now, this is something that a question that comes up sometimes is like, is Kickstarter a discovery engine or not? Like, can you build a following on Kickstarter? And the answer is you absolutely can. And just about every creator that has launched has realized and had a successful campaign has realized that, oh, wow, I have built my audience and I have added to my audience and I have expanded my audience based on launching and being visible on Kickstarter. I'm even finding that with this launch here, that there are people that have never backed a project for me before, that I've names that I do not know that are supporting this current project. And that's been the case for every time I've launched a comic book project as well. But Kickstarter is not first and foremost a discovery engine. What it really is it's an amplifier for what you have and whatever audience that you have. So whatever size audience you have, by funneling them and channeling them towards your Kickstarter launch at the very beginning, what that's going to do is that's going to amplify and magnetize your campaign and bring more people into it that are going to discover you there. But the truth is, trust from your audience is something that's going to be built, and you want to start building as early as possible and usually before the launch stuff. Now, this new planner is going to help you with some of these, with building your audience, building that crowd before you launch. One of the exercises that I teach inside of ComixLaunch Pro, and that I wanted to make sure that is built into the planner, and I think will be useful, especially for people that use a dedicated planner for each campaign as they go along, is there's a little platform audit worksheet in there. And what the platform audit does is it lets you take stock of what your current audience is right now before this launch. And it's always fun to see how your audience grows from the beginning of a launch and then where it will be before you launch the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And so that's something that I've included in the planner. There's also pre-launch pages, driving people to Kickstarter and getting them to click that hey, notify me on launch button. That has become super, super powerful for launching and getting off to a great start. There's a pre-launch page design checklist in there, something relatively new that I've added so that you're optimizing your page in that way. But in order to sort of build and activate your crowd, you want to start this as early as possible. There's a saying, the longer the runway, the bigger the takeoff at launch. And so a big reason that we are always stressing building that launch before you need it, building that following before you need it. We stress email lists, and one of the signature programs inside of ComixLaunch Pro has been the List Launch program, just to help creators build up a big engaged email list and let them know that something cool is coming far in advance of actually launching. Absolutely key. And then what this will also do inside the launch planner is there's campaign launch checklists that will help make sure that you're checking every box and that you are doing whatever you can to rally that launch crew and get them to come out. And so you're sending the emails, the emails before the campaign, when the campaign launches, and that you actually have a really great launch day. So another thing that you may want to do before you launch and also throughout the launch is to focus on building up your media, just availability towards media and making an outreach towards media and getting stuff out there. And so the planner has built-in tracking sheets and templates and things like that to help you just with that outreach. The most important thing to remember is that when you're launching, Kickstarter is the venue, but you are in charge of the guest list. I've been saying this for years, and I will continue to say this. If you build a guest list, if you invite them to come out there on day one, you're going to have a solid launch day, and that's also going to attract a lot more new people who are like the people that were already on the guest list. And that's how you grow from one launch to the next. So hope you keep this in mind when you are approaching your first or next launch. And again, the Comics Launch Planner will help you make sure that you don't forget this tip of the day. Okay, if you are launching a Kickstarter this month, if you happen to be in that crowd, you're going to be launching in May of 2025, and you want to come talk to me and jam on some of these ideas and talk about your project, just go to comixlaunch.com/invite. There's a bunch of open spots still. I'm seeing my dance card fill up. I'm excited because some of my favorite people in comics are starting to grab slots, and we're going to have some great conversations. I'll even be talking to Sam Kusek, who heads the comic category on Kickstarter in terms of outreach. And I will be talking to Sam near the end of the month. So I'm excited about that. But if you want to secure a time to come talk about your projects, just go to comixlaunch.com/invite and we'll get you on and we will have a great conversation. And so that will transition me in to inviting my guest today, who is John Auerbach. Let's bring John on over here. Hey, what's up, John? How you doing?
I'm good, Tyler. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for asking. And I'm excited to talk to you. But as this is your first time on Comics Launch, I want to make sure that the Comics Launch listeners know that John is a fantasy author and comic book writer from the New York area. Big fan of the classic animated versions of The Hobbit, and is looking to create and pass along his fantasy creations to the next generation of fantasy readers. And to that end, you've got a beautiful looking project that is live on Kickstarter right now called Blood of Atlantis. It's issues 1 and 2. What can you tell us about this project, John?
Sure. Blood of Atlantis is kind of a modern take on Indiana Jones, mixed with some Dungeons and Dragons elements. The series takes place in New York City, but the second issue we're going a little more global. It's basically kind of a hidden magical undercurrent to our modern world, and one group has been running these kind of Dungeons and Dragons style quests, like in New York City, sending people off to find, what are seemingly random items. And the purpose of that is to try to find the hidden magic that has kind of been depleted over the centuries. So this world is one I've written about in my urban fantasy novels, and this comic book series is a spin-off of that, but a new reader entry point. It stars one of the kind of secondary characters from the book series. And so she's kind of set off on her own. Her name's Beatrice. In my last book, she kind of bought this coffee shop downtown to act as kind of a headquarters for questers in the city. And now she's taking on kind of a new journey, a new quest to find the lost city of Atlantis.
Nice. So, I mean, this is a really good looking project. Art is beautiful, and it's sort of right in line with, what you've, the stuff that you've been putting out there into the world. This looks like your fourth Kickstarter launch.
Yeah.
Now, when it came to the topic that I brought up in terms of the importance of putting the crowd before the funding, what are some of the things that you sort of learned about ways to engage an audience before and in the lead up to a launch, so that you can get your projects funded, get past your goal, and keep building?
Sure. So my first campaign I launched was for a special edition of my first urban fantasy book. Kind of do new cover, new branding, and I added a new novella that I wrote for that campaign. And so, is
that this one, Guild of Tokens?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
So this originally launched on it's an ebook, mostly on Amazon. And so I had spent several years building up a mailing list and, trying to take advantage of what was kind of better organic visibility on Amazon back in the day. So this book came out in 2019 originally, and I ran this campaign in January of 2021 for the special edition. So one thing I had that newsletter of readers already, which was good. And I had built that up through people buying the book and kind of group promotions on the site called BookFunnel, which lets authors come in and share kind of sample chapters, books with other authors in like a monthly promo you can set up. But then the thing about Amazon is, if you tell all your friends and family who maybe aren't fantasy readers to go buy, your ebook on Amazon, Amazon's algorithm completely screw up, who they think they should show your book to. So for years, I would mention to people, I wrote a book, it's on Amazon if you want it, but I didn't actively tell family and friends, go out and buy my book, please, because I figured that was going to kind of screw up the data on Amazon's end. Kickstarter's algorithm is not as kind of finicky, for lack of a better word, as Amazon. So I said to myself for this first Kickstarter campaign, this is my opportunity to kind of pitch what I've been doing all these years to my family and friends, because I hadn't really asked them to come out and support me before. And I think I remember, I think you had a good metaphor on one of your episodes. If you're opening a coffee shop in your town, like, why wouldn't you tell your family and friends, come out and support me? I have this new venture. Yeah, that was a really good framing. So I kind of looked at it that way. And so I had my mailing list of readers, and I sent out an email to family and friends saying, hey, I'm launching this Kickstarter. It'd be great to come out and have your support. So between the two of those, that really brought like a really strong day one for that campaign. And that kind of carried it through the rest of that first campaign, increased the visibility on Kickstarter itself. So we got some, new readers that joined us who had never, bought any of my books before.
Yeah. So just in comparing the two platforms, so 360 backers and a $12,000 dollars worth of pledges. Yeah. Do you know how many sales you would have to make on Amazon to make $12,000 in sales, roughly, to compare the two platforms?
1,000. The ebook was $4.99. So yeah, 12,000. 10,000.
And how much? And what percentage does Amazon take of that?
They take 30%. So it's that's pretty good, cut that you get, compared to if you had an ebook with a traditional publisher, you're getting 10 to 15%. Right. But still 70% versus the 95% you get from Kickstarters is lower.
Right. And yet sort of have the opportunity to do some, offer some high-end things alongside with the package that some of your super fans are going to take you up on it, that you don't really have that same opportunity to sell to multiple parts of your audience market with different price sensitivities, right?
Yeah. On Amazon, it's really hard. I also kind of run Facebook ads to the product page on Amazon. it's really hard to get someone on a cold Facebook ad to buy like a paperback. So Amazon will print your book, print on demand. You'll get a decent cut for, you know, not having to do anything, you know, in terms of the fulfillment, printing, whatever. Very few people are taking a paperback. Mostly ebooks. $5 ebook. You don't have a lot of margin to run ads if you are early in your book series. Versus, I was very surprised on Kickstarter that people. So I offered a paperback and I offered a hardcover, $25 versus $35 price point. The vast majority of the people went right for the hardcover.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's part of the Kickstarter market. I think it tends to be people that are, you know, looking more for collectibles. They're looking for premium, and especially I think probably for authors, right? Like there's just kind of a different market. If you are a big Kindle reader, and you buy your Kindle books from Amazon, or you're part of that, you know, KDP direct world, that's how you want to consume. But if not, a lot of people on platforms like Kickstarter, hey, they want the physical artifact, they want the premium edition for their bookshelves, right? So that's you know, definitely interesting, and you know, I think it also shows that like different platforms have different pros and cons, and why you may not want to just tie yourself to just one, right?
Absolutely. I think another thing with Amazon is a lot of readers are in their Kindle Unlimited program, so that will let people get your book for free. You know, there's a monthly subscription, but you have your book digitally exclusive with Amazon.
Yeah.
A lot of authors who have a lot of success on that. You know, they're is in the hands of Amazon, and every you know, the business is fair and on Amazon, and any changes that Amazon makes could be detrimental to their business. A lot more people now trying to broaden their distribution. You know, definitely with, you know, physical books, because that you're not limit. If you're in Kindle Unlimited, you can put physical books elsewhere, but also, you know, offering, you know, getting out of Kindle Unlimited. And it's hard because Kindle Unlimited is basically its own audience of people.
Yeah.
So you're not, so people have made good money. So it's definitely, you know, a tough choice of what to do. I've seen a lot of authors come on Kickstarter in the last 2 to 3 years with a lot of special edition books. I think people have done really well, and those are, you know, even higher price points, $70, $80, $90, and people have been doing really well. And you see,
the Brandon Sanderson obviously leading the pack, but creators of all audience sizes and levels have definitely been able to find some success in, you know, treating their launch like a special event, and getting you know, a really quality product out to them, something that you might not, you probably wouldn't be able to support if you were just doing the POD route on Amazon. And so that's a good thing. So how did you get into transitioning from doing the prose work and that stuff into actually making some comics?
Yeah, so I think I started writing prose fiction in 2013, 2014, you know, worked my way up to publishing my first book in 2019. And around that time, I randomly came across an article about the new X-Men relaunch that Marvel was doing. And it was pretty happenstance. And, you know, it was about 6 years ago, that summer, 2019. So I picked up the first issue of House of X, which was this mini series that was relaunching the X-Men, and it was like a weekly series over 12 weeks. So it was over those, like, I got really hooked into that, and then just kind of slowly started reading more comics over the summer, fall, and then into 2020. I was like, in the beginning of 2020, I was, you know, reading even more. Comic shops, you know, Diamond shut down, comic shops shut down, so there's no new product. So in the spring of 2020, I was like, what else am I going to read? So that gave me some time to kind of go back and read some more, not, you know, modern classics, broaden my horizon, since we weren't getting any new issues. And then, like, that summer, I ended up taking this the Comics Experience company that Andy Schmidt runs, was doing a master seminar with Jonathan Hickman, who was the writer of that X-Men relaunch. So I kind of signed up for it more as like, I really like the comics as a fan. I came out of that kind of this new passion of like, hey, like this is really fun to like, this is another writing medium to explore. It could be really fun. How am I going to do that?
Yeah.
And I think that summer I kind of came on to Kickstarter. And I think that was the summer of, maybe that was Scott Snyder's Nocterra. It was, I remember backing Curtis Clow's Beastlands. I think he was up to issue 5 at that point.
Yep.
And that campaign had kind of just taken off. And so then I slowly kind of was like searching out. I think I found your podcast that summer. Started listening to all the backlist episodes, like my afternoon walk, coffee break.
Yeah,
and then,
podcasting and walking, or walking the dog, or doing your daily chores is definitely the way to go.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you found us.
Yeah, so listen to that. Listen, the Comic Experience had a podcast, so I listened to the kind of archives of that and try to figure out like a lay of the land. And I didn't think I was ready to kind of launch full blown into it. I did this, Kickstarter for my book first in 2021, and it was just a gradual process of trying to balance writing the prose and writing comics. And then for my second Kickstarter campaign for book 2 of that series, which was the actual proper launch, that I was launching the book on Kickstarter, wasn't a special edition. One of the stretch goals I had was a 5-page mini comic, set in the world of that series.
Nice.
I'd been going to New York Comic Con for many, many years. And the prior fall, I had met an artist, Francine Delgado, in Artist Alley and taken her card. And so during
that was going to be my question. I know Fran from Inside Comics Launch Pro. She's does some gorgeous work. So you met her at a convention. Was she tabling, or did you just happen to? Yeah.
So it was like fall. It was New York Comic Con 2021. It was it was the first year back after COVID. It's a lot more indie guests. Although Fran is a mainstay, she goes every year. Some indie writers I had been, emailing online. I went over to meet them, and I was like, "Do you know anyone who's like looking to do interior work?" So they're like, "Oh yeah, Fran, she's down the aisle." So I went and talked to her, got her card, and then, 6 months later, I just sent her an email. I was like, "Oh, remember we met at New York Comic Con? I want to do this 5-page mini comic. Is that something you'd be interested in?" And she said yes. We hit the stretch goal and made the comic. And yeah, so that was my first step. And so then I said, okay, what am I going to do for a comic project? And I had written book 2 and kind of set up one of these secondary characters, kind of spun her off to the side to maybe explore in like her own book series. But then I thought maybe it could be a comic. So I just started, writing and noodling out, script for issue 1. That was probably summer. Yeah, it was the summer of 2023. I sent it to one of my friends who, had read my book series, and, he said, "This is a good draft, but, you have a lot in here that just is a lot of detail from the world. And if you're not a reader of the book, like, I don't know if people are going to get it at all." So I kind of had to take a step back and, rework it to be like, hey, this is something new. There's a book series if you want, but it's its own thing. And so I kind of redid the first draft, and then I emailed Fran. I was like, hey, I'm working on this project. It's in the same world as the mini comic we did. I like working with you. Do you want to do a full issue? And, thankfully she said yes. And so, then we got to work. I think that was
off to the races.
Yeah.
And I know in talking to some people that play in both the prose worlds and the comic worlds, it's funny because, we all have our audiences, but you can see Venn diagrams that there is going to be overlap. People that like, oh, you know what? I'm a fan of this IP, and I will read, if it's a mini comic, if it's a full comic series, if it's a one shot, if it's a prose novel, if it's a webisode, if it's an audio book or audio cast. The more the better. But there are also going to be some people that like will never pick up a prose book and never pick up a comic. But when building out these intellectual properties and these worlds that you're creating, one way to sort of amplify and the reach that you're able to and the people that you're able to impact with it is by hitting up different mediums and sort of learning how to play in each of those worlds. This is something that there's always a bit of a learning curve for writers, especially writers who have been used to sort of like, hey, I'm a writer, and how, you know, what's on my, like when you're doing prose, what's in your head and what comes out on paper, like it's kind of almost a one-to-one. Maybe you'll get a little input from an editor, but when it comes to comics, that's not necessarily the case. And I'm curious, you know, what was your experience and sort of like, all right, you've got your ideas, but now you're handing it over to an artist, and the artist's job is often, you know, cinematographer, actor, character and setting designer, and choreographer, and director. How did you sort of navigate that once pages started coming back? What were sort of like, what were some of your lessons learned in terms of getting a good end product and making it a true collaboration, even though these things were living in your head for so long, just your head, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's, you know, building that relationship with your artists and learning to trust them. And, you know, I've heard I'm not sure where I've heard this from multiple people. Like if you write out a script and it's like, okay, open, the character is drinking a cup of coffee. Next panel, they put it, you know, up to their lips. Next panel, they let out a great sigh. And then it's just completely mechanical. Every shot point of view across the entire issue. And then you hand it to the artist. The artist is like, okay, all right, great. You're like, this reads more like you wish you could draw, but you can't. So you want me to draw what you want. And like, there's no great, I'll do it, but it's kind of boring. And, you know, versus, okay, like as a writer, you want to, you know, come up with the story and the structure and the pacing, but you need to give your artist the room to, you know, shine. And artists are thinking visually all the time. As writers, we like to think we're thinking visually, but when you're writing a prose novel, you know, it's somewhat secondary. And this is kind of what lessons I've learned back in, you know, from the comic side right to the prose side. How this visually is looking is a little bit secondary, and versus like the artists are always thinking about what room, what camera angle. And so, you know, thinking that letting them help, you know, out, you know, story in the best way, visually interesting, is like that they really, they want to do that. They want to show off, you know, what they can do. So, thankfully, like when we're in production mode, you know, Fran is often sending me sketches, ideas. How about this? You know, sometimes I'll have pictured one way and she'll just say, no, I have a better idea. And I'll get it back. I'm like, well, that's a much better idea. So that's always great. And then, you know, you can leave more room for them to do, you know, what they want to do. And you don't need to dictate every single little detail. So I've definitely right now I'm working on the script for issue 3. You know, definitely putting in kind of more, you know, I'm still doing, you know, full script, but more moments where like, okay, here's a big page, you know, I'm envisioning it. Here's a couple of ideas of how we could lay this page out. You know, what do you think? Actually, so if you go down to page 1 of issue 2, the other way, right here. This is issue 1. Sorry, a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
More.
You went, sorry, you went a little too far.
Just get past it.
The 3. Yeah. So this page right here. So I had come up with. I was like, okay, we're going to do a daily progression. You know, 6 panels over 6 days, and I had certain things happening at certain times. And Fran came back and said, you know, it would look really cool if we had, you know, day, night, day, night alternating. And not having like all the day on the left and all the day on the right and all the night on the right. So, you know, I was like, okay, great. So I rewrote it to be like, okay, now we have this kind of more visually interesting, you know, day in panel 1, night in panel 2, it's second row reversed. So now
and what Fran knows, and most you know, visual artists that do sequential work know, is that the way the eye wants to flow across the page is start at upper left, move across, diagonal, across, diagonal, across, and that's exactly what this sort of does. This flow does. So definitely an advantage of working with talented artists, and it is a bit of a relationship that gets built when you are working with talent, and you can sort of learn shorthand and learn things and write to the artist as you go along. My buddy John Lees, who's been working with Alex Cormack now for 10 years, I think. He's like, I learned over the years that when I write into scripts, I'll give it to Alex, and a lot of times he will come back and people will have more blood and less clothes than I wrote, but that's all right. we're working together. We're making things happen. So, it's cool that you guys have been able to build a relationship, and that trust gets built over time, where you realize, oh, you know what, I don't actually need to spell out certain things, or I want to leave enough room for them to make an impact and to leave their stamp and to get really excited about doing their best work as opposed to just doing a gig.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's definitely good to know that you guys have been able to establish that. Now, in terms of getting the word out about the Kickstarter, now that you're sort of up and running, obviously going on podcasts or doing outreach there, but what are some of the strategies that you've used to sort of keep momentum going and to stay sane and to manage your not just your emotions but your productivity when you're in the midst of a launch like this?
Well, productivity, I always plan for that to take a huge hit during the campaign. For my book 2 campaign, I launched with like the book at 60 to 70% done. And I said, okay, I'm going to just be super motivated to finish while the campaign is going. It's going to give me that boost to, finish. That did not happen at all. And that book took another, 6 months for me to finish writing it. So I kind of shifted off of like, I'm not going to be working on, I'm going to have the book or comic done or almost done when we launch, so that I can focus on the campaign running well and, people don't have to wait. In terms of strategy, so, going back to your kind of Venn diagram example. So we had the first launch of issue 1. I spent several months, maybe even, so I started a Substack newsletter back in 2021. I was like, I'm going to document how I'm going to write my first comic book. And so I was kind of writing, behind the scenes articles and process articles, as more of a blog, not as like a marketing newsletter, but, I would put links to that in my, monthly newsletter. Hey, I'm getting ready to write a comic, read about that process. And then, so that first issue campaign launched in June. So I think in February, I said, okay, well, I need a bigger run up, because I'm asking people who are mostly book readers to maybe back a new thing that they haven't read before.
Yeah.
So we need definitely more time. So I kind of did in February. I announced that we have this comic coming. I had the banner image done already. So that was kind of our marketing hook until we had, more art and covers. And then I just spent, those 3 or 4 months, really hammering home, hey, I'm going to be launching a comic. It's set in the same world. So people who've read the books, there's something for you, but like, it's similar how when you're launching a Kickstarter for the first time to your audience, you want to explain like, this is what Kickstarter is and this is what it's about. So I took the similar view of like, this is what, a comic is about.
Yeah.
And so that longer lead up time, I think, really helped. You kind of use the events of like, here's our first cover, here's our second cover to kind of, and the good thing about a comic is it's so visual. So you have lots of different things to show your audience versus the book. We have our cover and, you don't really have so many more visual assets. You can, tease snippets, but people really respond on social media, especially to images. So
yeah,
I worked kind of that up for that first launch. And then it was, reaching out again to past audiences. And that ended up, the past book audience and also some paid advertising. So for this campaign, we had one issue, done. I had done an issue for the first campaign. So it was less of a lift of, hey, telling people, but still you have, another lead up. I think I did maybe 6 weeks lead up this time to my mailing list. I had, a smaller Substack list. So I would talk about the campaigns coming on there, but that is less kind of marketing focused. I try to write more longer form blog posts on Substack. And I did some paid kind of lead ads on Facebook, directing people to the pre-launch page. I like the great new change to the pre-launch page is you can put stuff on there now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a nice improvement. You can be strategic about what you want to show. And
yeah. So I put kind of, explaining the series, and then I put a link to a 12-page preview of issue 1. So you have new people coming across it, either from the paid ads or just on Kickstarter. They can get a sense of like, what is this book? So I was able to get my pre-launch followers up to the highest they've been, for one of my campaigns. I think we had 200 plus pre-launch followers.
Always a good sign.
Yeah. I heard any of my.
Can you say that again? I think you came in and out there.
Day one backers across all 4 of my campaigns, which was great. I think you can try to maximize for revenue or backers or both, and I would take maximizing for backers. This campaigns were at a little lower average per pledge than some of my past campaigns. Many more backers than I was at this time in issue 1 campaign. And then during the campaign, it's okay. I have sources of where I know I can get people to come to the page, so I can send out emails, mailing list at a certain frequency. I can post campaign updates to the issue 1 campaign, to the book campaigns. I have backer kit launch, so again, reaching out to past backers, and I try to do those in so that they're all not, I'm not sending an email out to my mailing list and backer kit launch and Blood of Atlantis 1 and book 1 and book 2 all on the same day. So I try to spread it out. So if you miss one, you'll see it during the next day, and trying to switch up the messaging on those, but kind of rotating the messaging through, like reusing the messaging and graphics, but hitting them with something different every time I'm emailing and reporting on, media appearances or, oh, hey, we hit a stretch goal. The other thing when we hit every 100 backers, I unlock a virgin covered Jiggly print. And then I let the backers vote on which one they want to unlock. So that gets some interactivity, which is always fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing, paid Facebook conversion ads. So trying to, which, you can't do those on Amazon. And I think at a certain scale, it's very powerful. At the scale that I'm at right now, and, I don't have so much money to spend. I think at a higher scale, when Facebook is getting lots of data on what on the buyers it's getting, it can really kind of fine tune its targeting. So hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, getting practice when you're doing your single issue launches is one thing, but then when it comes time for like a premium hardcover or bigger collections, it's sort of the thing where that I'm dealing with now. I'm running some ads for the new planner. It's, comic book crowdfunding planner. It's a niche of a niche of a niche. So the audience side pool is not the world, and the planner was sort of designed to be pretty affordable. So the price point is a little bit lower. So it's hard to get like a massive return on Facebook ads. But I'm happy to do it as long as we're sort of getting a 2-to-1 return. I'm happy to keep rolling because I'm probably reaching people that I might not hit otherwise. And thankfully the audience that I do bring is sort of affording me to grow the audience a little bit. So
yeah,
100%. It's a good approach for it. And even just a little bit of an ad spend ensures that there's going to be no days where nothing is happening or there's no traffic to your page or awareness happening. So I think that's a good approach. I'm just as a fantasy writer and someone that is creating brand new worlds and with different characters across different mediums. Do you have any tips or tools that you use for world building and just keeping things straight? I don't always get a chance to talk writing and craft, but you're someone that I'd love to pick your brain on that.
Yeah, so I do my book writing in this program called Scrivener, which is a word processor, but it has kind of a folder. It kind of has this sidebar where you can organize, into different scenes and chapters. And then you can also have a folder for characters. You can have a folder for notes. You can have a folder for objects. And so what I do is, when I'm writing a book in the series and I'm coming up with ideas or lore or locations or characters, I put that in the file. And then when I, start the next book, I move all of that kind of info on with me to the next, Scrivener file, like for book 3. And just that gets built over time. So that's a good kind of repository. For my comic scripts, I'm just writing those in Word. So oftentimes I'll go back to the Scrivener file and look at it. I've also started using Notion to kind of do. I built a template to kind of track the production. Okay, like what's done for each page.
Yep.
And what's done for each cover. And that has, I think, and then I kind of put my Kickstarter draft layout in there, and from campaign to campaign, so I can grab that and put it for the next campaign. I think I've started putting some world building stuff on there. That I think has the benefit of, you can make your own wiki almost if you're focused enough. I haven't done that yet, but I think I've put some, story ideas in some different Notion files, or if I have, like right now I'm writing issue 3, and the issue 3 script is basically like a graveyard of ideas and thoughts from issue 2 that I didn't end up putting in, and I just moved that over to issue 3. It should those ideas should probably be in their own kind of document. But having some way to organize into different categories of word building is super helpful. That way you don't have to kind of go off. You don't have to search for something in like a random chapter, and you can kind of maintain your continuity, although it's hard.
Yeah, I love how some authors like George R.R. Martin or Brandon Sanderson, like they have like teams that are in charge of keeping track of the lore and the worlds and to make sure that everything interconnects. But there's definitely tools out there. Thanks for sharing a few of them that can help make that a little bit easier. And I like the idea of, rather than like having one master document that is just that then you're jumping between a bunch of documents. The idea of like, oh, I'm gonna for each Scrivener project, I just copy it over and then build from there with each subsequent book or issue. I think that's actually might actually be a better way to go about it than to try to have stuff in a multiple different spots.
And then
John,
go
ahead.
Oh, so I was saying for that stuff comes in helpful for this issue 2. I'm kind of interweaving events that are happening in the next book I'm writing at the same time. Because I issue 1, I was like, well, we're not going to do any of this kind of crossover stuff. But issue 2, we can do it a little bit more. I think I changed kind of the lettering in this, but on like page 2, one of the characters references, oh, and this thing happened. And I put in one of those editor, captions. Oh, to see what she's talking about, read this, Guild of Magic, The Gauntlet, which is my next book. So hopefully it'll kind of be this like fun way to entice people to go over to the new book. And then, some of the events are happening, in between each other, like the events of the book and the events of this issue are happening simultaneous. I'm not, other than that little note, I'm not, focusing on that, but for people who are reading both, like it's a fun little surprise for them.
Yeah. No, I love it. Do you have any events coming up? Are you doing any conventions or any things outside of the Kickstarter platform to get stuff out there?
So Fran tables every year at New York Comic Con, and last fall she was gracious enough to host me for a few hours on Thursday and Friday. So I spent time tabling with her, which was really fun.
Is that where this picture that I just came from?
Yes. So that's us at Fran's table last year. That was super fun. Just so hopefully we'll be able to do that again in this New York Comic Con. But that's probably my only planned kind of event.
And do you expect to do any more Kickstarters this year?
My hope is to do the next book in my fiction series in the fall, which is a kind of a book 2.5. And then we'll go back for issue 3, hopefully at the beginning of next year or sooner if we can kind of make the timing work. But I'm interested to see how, I've gone from the book to comic, and now let's see how, bringing the kind of comic backers over to my book projects. I'm interested to see how that goes, because I haven't had a new book out in, several years.
Yeah. And do you do any sort of try to cross promotion, like, maybe like if we can get a piece of art or a signature book plate or something from Fran that get people know that, but we can apply that to the prose launch? I don't know if you've experimented with that.
I haven't. That's probably a good idea. But I might be doing having her do kind of art print for the book.
Yeah.
So I have a fun idea for that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well, the project is called The Blood of Atlantis. It's issues 1 and 2. And then obviously if you like it, John's got plenty of lore and plenty of pages of the world that he's building for you to dive deep into all things John Auerbach. But John, thank you for joining me for this discussion and for just being a part of the comic book Kickstarter community. And it's been a pleasure to get to chat with you for a little bit. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I think it's an understatement to say I wouldn't be able to have, gotten where I am in writing comics without you and ComixLaunch and all the, the podcast and all the resources you put out. And I'm really excited to get the planner.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. And it's fun to see just, just a couple of ideas at the right time in the right place, and then you put them into work, and good things happen. And so, I love seeing creators that I've had a chance to connect with, work with each other, and get stuff out there and amplify what they can do, what anybody would be able to do on their own. I do think a big part of the reason why the comics category is so fruitful on Kickstarter is because it truly is a community. And so, thank you for being a part of it. And I'm excited to see more stuff coming from you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate folks tuning in, folks catching the replay. If there are topics that you want to hear, if there are things that you'd like me to discuss, if there's guests I need to get on this daily stream over the next couple of weeks, please don't hesitate to reach out, to comment, to let me know. I will be back tomorrow. It'll probably be a little bit of a shorter stream because after I'll be jumping back on at noon tomorrow, though. And then at 1:30 tomorrow, I'm doing my first ever Substack live stream. So I'll be joining Russell Nolte on his AuthorStack platform. So if you want a double dose, tune in at noon and then check me out over on Russell's platform. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Go get your Comics Launch planner over at comixlaunch.com/planner. Go back John's project, Blood of Atlantis, on Kickstarter. And we can't wait to see what y'all launch next. Thank you, everybody.
The Comics Launch Planner is going to give you a roadmap so you can launch confidently, whether this is your first campaign or you've launched a bunch. Hey, I'm George O'Connor. I've kickstarted 10 projects raising over $50,000, and Comics Launch is a big reason for my success. Tyler has studied Kickstarter for over a decade, and he's going to help you avoid pitfalls and give you the best insights to make sure that you and your project shine on the platform. He's also going to help you with the mental aspects so you can stay sharp and positive and professional throughout the entire launch. This planner is going to give you the tips and insights Tyler's created from over the years of studying the platform and helping hundreds of people launch their projects. As someone who's been with Tyler since the beginning of Comics Launch and has absolutely benefited from his insights and trainings, I cannot recommend the Comics Launch Planner enough.
I've been using the tools from Comics Launch since 2020 to run all these successful Kickstarter campaigns. When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks. He really has this great way of putting everything together and making it so easy to tackle. So something big and challenging like a Kickstarter campaign becomes really easy to do when it's broken down into these steps. My name is Melissa J. Massey, purveyor of fine fantasy comics and tragic shenanigans. I would recommend this to anyone who wants to launch a book or a comic on Kickstarter. It really breaks down the process and helps you to position yourself well so that you can stand out and deliver a fantastic book to your audience. I mean, the results don't lie, and the pile's getting a little hard to hold. So check out the Comics Launch Planner. It's going to be the best investment you make for yourself and for your creative business.
Before Comics Launch, I struggled to raise $3,000 on my first campaign. And since joining Comics Launch, I have raised more than $370,000 across more than 30 campaigns. That's a huge difference. It's quantifiable. Hey everybody, it's Clay Adams. I'm the writer of Blazing Blade of Frankenstein, Dream Quest, co-writer of Carmilla Unbound, Prodigal Son, and co-editor of the Nightmare Theater horror anthology. I wish I had this planner years ago. Tyler, what are you doing? Get on this. Start shipping these things out. Can we just skip the campaign? Let's go.